welcome back to Mia Bella's ASMR. It's good to have you here. Today I thought I would go through some of my favorite quotes or passages that I've come across recently. I wouldn't say these are like my all-time favorites, but just what I am really enjoying at the moment. There are a range of, they come from a range of places. Some of them I read in books, some of them I found on Pinterest. So I thought I'd go through and read them to you and just do a little explanation on some of them, why I like them, why they're meaningful to me. Most of the quotes are sort of themed around spirituality, love, being in relationship or community with other people. So that's the kind of vibes we're going for today. Also, I am unfortunately a little bit sick at the moment, so if there's a lot of edits in this video, it's because I had to pause to cough or take a drink of water. So anyways, let's get into it. So the first quote that I have today is, "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity." So that one's by Paul Coelho. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. From The Alchemist. And I actually found this quote years before I read The Alchemist. And then when I finally did read The Alchemist, I cried when it got to that part because I was like, oh my gosh, it's like one of my favorite quotes ever. "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity." The next one is, "Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it is nobody's business. What we are asked to do is to love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbours worthy, if anything can." That's by Thomas Merton. I think I just found this one on Pinterest, to be honest. I love that. Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it is nobody's business. What we are asked to do is to love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbours worthy, if anything can. The next one is, "The river is deep and fast, and it drowns many people, but I still love it. I still love the river," I told her, "but I do not love it because it is deep and fast and drowns many people. I love it because it runs behind my house, and I have lived above it forever." That one's by Mark Leidner. "The work of a mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That's how much gratitude I can give. If I carry only grief, I'll bend towards cynicism and despair. If I have only gratitude, I'll become saccharine and won't develop much compassion for other people's suffering. Grief keeps the heart fluid and soft, which helps make compassion possible. It's by Francis Waller. The work of a mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. Now the next one is a prayer, the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, I think. Yeah, or the prayer of peace. So I'm not a Christian, but I did grow up going to church, and so I find that there are a couple of Bible verses in here as well that I really find comfort in and hope, and they are meaningful to me spiritually, even if I don't practice, I'm not a Christian. But I think there's still some bangers in the Bible, so you can appreciate them even if you're not Christian. I still think some ideas about love and spirituality are very relevant, regardless if you believe in Jesus or not. So the prayer for peace is, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Now the next one is a quote from one of my favorite movies ever, Poor Things. Sorry, I have a throat lozenge because I was coughing too much. It's a bit of a weird movie, if you've seen it, but I really, really love it. It speaks to me a lot. And this quote is, we must experience everything, not just the good, but degradation, horror, sadness. This makes us whole, makes us people of substance. Then we can know the world, and when we know the world is ours. And I just absolutely love the journey that Bella goes on in Poor Things, the main character. She chooses to say yes to the world and everything in it, even if some of it is really horrible and ugly. She would much rather that than to not know and not explore the world and never know what's out there. Now the next one is Ram Dass. If I give food to somebody and I'm busy identifying with being the giver, ergo they must be the receiver in that transaction, and giver and receiver are separate from one another. But if my left hand gives food to my right hand, even the word giving doesn't seem appropriate, does it? My left hand puts food in my right hand. My right hand doesn't say thank you to my left hand, because the left hand and the right hand are part of the body. Their identity is with the oneness, not with their separateness. And the next one is a quote by David Foster Wallace. It's from Infinite Jest. Crazy, crazy book. I have read it. And it is, this appetite to choose death by pleasure, if it is available to choose. This appetite of your people unable to choose appetites. This is the death. I try to remember this one. I have such a bad phone addiction, like I'm always scrolling and it's really bad. So I try to remember this one. Now my next quote is a Bible verse. So it's from 1 Corinthians 13, but I did, if I recall correctly, I think I did chop out a couple of lines in there because it starts off really good, and then there's a couple like lines which I thought were boring or whatever, so I like cut those out, and then I got the like cool lines at the end. And so if you want a full unedited version, check your local Bible, please. So it goes, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. The greatest of these is love, love, love. And the next one is also about love. It's from Braiding Sweetgrass, a book by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And really, I loved that book so much. And in it, she has this list of loving behaviors, and I'll read you the list. It goes, nurturing health and well-being, protection from harm, encouraging individual growth and development, desire to be together, generous sharing of resources, working together for a common goal, celebration of shared values, interdependence, sacrifice by one for the other, creation of beauty. And now this next one is very special to me. It actually comes from an ASMR video. And so it's Alex R ASMR. I absolutely love her channel. I cannot recommend it highly enough. She's such a hope and inspiration to me, just as a person, like, as well as inspiring my ASMR, but she is awesome. So I will link the video that the quote is from down below. I'm pretty sure it's called something like ASMR for Dark Times in America, I think. But yeah, all her videos are just incredible, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go check out her channel. So this is also paraphrased a little bit, so another reason I would recommend you to check out the actual video. It's much better within the whole context of the video and with her exact wording, because I had to kind of I was trying to get the gist of it. But anyway. So it goes, I have come across this commitment this brutal, sobering reality which renders me both significant and insignificant. It urges me to sign a contract in the sky that says, I've read all the history books. I know that darkness like this exists and rears its head over and over when left unchecked. It's my turn to come down to earth and to inherit this pain and to resist this pain and to live as many others have lived, with pain and a heavy heart. And that's going to render some of my projects and ambitions irrelevant, but also it will call me into the time that I live in, into a bigger story of human life. It is a lifelong work to always combat the darker elements of human nature with love, hope, and community. So, that's a bit of Alex R. for you. And now this is one of my big favorites. It's a poem it's attributed to Hafiz, Hafiz. And it goes, what is the difference between your experience of existence and that of a saint? The saint knows that the spiritual path is a sublime chess game with God, and that the beloved has just made such a fantastic move that the saint is now continually tripping over joy and bursting out in laughter and saying, I surrender. Whereas, my dear, I am afraid you still think you have 1,000 serious moves. I really like this one because I think there have been times in my life where things have aligned in ways that couldn't possibly just be a coincidence, and it feels very planned, and yeah, the only thing I can do is just to be like, just to let it happen, to surrender to it, to whatever higher power there is, doing these things and putting them in place, because I couldn't plan it that way if I tried. So we're getting to the last 4 quotes now. The next one is I found online, and the person who wrote it is Bronze Age Pervert, who I think is like really right, like alt-right kind of ideology, which is not something that I agree with at all, but I like the quote itself. So it is, animals walk around in a state of permanent religious intoxication. This is a natural condition of the mind and intellect, the moment-to-moment perception of man as well. I heard some computer fool say that religion is the older virtual reality experience to justify his scam industry. No, the denuded state of the spirit and intellect where you walk around demystified and disenchanted is the virtual reality condition, and a terrible condition at that. So I like this one because it's this idea that I feel like kind of the this like modern way of living where we aren't in touch with our bodies or our spiritualities or anything like that, you walk around thinking, oh well, I know I'm demystified, you know, I know what's real, and I know like this is my real life, and you walk around like thinking that there's nothing magical or special about the world, and you don't listen to your body. You're completely exploring the world only with your mind. I think that is, you're missing out on so much more in life by doing that. And I like the idea that animals, like, they don't have that, they're not living in their minds, so they do exactly what they're intended to do. Animals are living out their purpose every second of every minute. They are just existing in their bodies. And I like the idea that they're in a state of permanent religious intoxication. I'm actually filming this. I started filming this video yesterday. But I was coughing so much that I decided to, well, I literally couldn't keep filming because every time I pressed record, I would start coughing. So it's going a little bit better today. I'm drinking my purple monster, I wish I could say my only vice, but it is my treat, my little weekend treat. I let myself drink one of these, usually on a Sunday morning. Okay, so the next quote is by David W. Orr. I think I found this one online as well. It goes, "The plain fact is that the planet does not need more successful people, but it does desperately need more peacemakers, healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of every kind. It needs people who live well in their places. It needs people of moral courage willing to join the fight to make the world habitable and humane. And these qualities have little to do with success as we have defined it." I really like that one. I used to be, growing up, it was very important to me that I was successful. But as I grew older, I stopped believing in that. I didn't have a desire to be successful in kind of the traditional way anymore. And so I really like that quote because I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. Like, we don't need successful people. We need people who take care of each other, and people who live in communities and help each other and heal each other, all that good stuff. Next quote, again found online, that's by India Ameyi, and it goes, "Allow shame to find no home in your posture, in your dances, in your aura, in your lovemaking sounds, in your dreaming spaces, in your every single desire." And the last quote that we have today, finishing off with another Bible verse. It's 1 John 4:7, and it is, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God." So yeah, I hope you enjoyed some of those passages and quotes and verses today. Let me know. Maybe you can let me know your favorite quote in the comments. And yes, again, I'm sorry if some of these are slightly, I've missed a few words here and there, or I pronounced the author's name incorrectly. Please don't cancel. But yes, these are my current favorite quotes. I actually have them all up on my wall to my left. So I can read them every day or whenever I want. And I really like, I did this a few years ago where I also put my favorite quotes up on the wall. And I ended up memorizing a few of them. And one of them, the only one that's still there now, is the first one that I said, tell your heart that the fear of suffering is greater than the suffering itself, by Paul Coelho. And it was like, I really love the fact I didn't intentionally memorize it, but I ended up kind of memorizing it because I read it on my wall so often. And then once you've memorized a quote, it kind of becomes part of you in a way, and you remember it and think about it in times that you need that particular support, and it's really nice. And then, like, what happened with me is that I learnt the quote before I actually read the book, so then when I read the book and I got to that bit, I was like, oh my gosh, it's great. Anyway, I hope this was relaxing, and hope you have a good day or night whenever you're watching this. And I will see you in the next